So friends, let's take on 3 brief updates of stories involving defendant Donald Trump. And these stories prompt me to wonder, does Donald Trump ever grow weary of losing? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, let's do 3 quick hits updating 3 Trump stories. None of them particularly good for defendant Trump. Here is the first one from CNN. Headline, Trump files long shot appeal of judge's order of Pence to testify in January 6 probe. And that article begins, former President Donald Trump has appealed a judge's order that Mike Pence must testify to a federal grand jury investigating the aftermath of the 2020 election, according to a person familiar with the case, but is unlikely to stop his former vice president from speaking to the panel. Trump has already lost several attempts in court to block other top officials from his administration from testifying, and the courts have resoundingly sided with grand jury pursuits for decades, making any attempt to claim executive privilege around his conversations with Pence a long shot. Okay, friends, we can wrap up our discussion of this story in 3 words. Trump will lose. Again. Okay, 4 words. Moving on to the next story. You may recall a couple of weeks ago, the judge presiding over the defamation suit that Carroll brought against Donald Trump, a case that's about to go to trial in a couple of weeks. That judge, Lewis Kaplan, ordered that the jury in the case would be anonymous. Nobody gets to know their identity because of the danger Donald Trump poses to others. And Donald Trump just asked Judge Kaplan to revisit that ruling because, Donald Trump would really not like to know the identity of the jurors who will be sitting in judgment of him. But here's the thing. Judge Kaplan has been paying attention to what defendant Trump has been doing in his other case, the one where he's indicted for 34 felony crimes. New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg's case against defendant Trump. Judge Kaplan has been keeping an eye on that, and he sees the threats that Donald Trump is leveling against DA Alvin Bragg and his family, Judge Juan Merchan, the presiding judge in that case, and his family. And here is what Judge Kaplan said when Donald Trump asked the judge to please reconsider. Let me know the identity of the jurors in the Carroll defamation suit. This reporting from Law and Crime. On March 23, 2023, Judge Kaplan said he needed to protect jurors' safety and privacy in light of Trump's attacks on courts, judges, various law enforcement officials, and other public officials, and even individual jurors in other matters. The likelihood of such difficulties, since the court made those findings a couple of weeks ago, has only increased. The likelihood of such difficulties, since the court made those findings a couple of weeks ago, only has increased. That is so in view of Mr. Trump's public statements, characterized by the media as attacks against the New York State judge presiding over the recently filed New York State criminal case against Mr. Trump, and the threats reportedly then made, presumably by Mr. Trump's supporters, against that judge and members of his family. So the jury in the Carroll defamation suit will remain anonymous to protect them against Donald Trump and his supporters. Friends, in my 30 years as a prosecutor, I only had 2 cases, 2 trials where the juries were anonymous. Each one involved the prosecution of a RICO organization. A RICO organization that killed their enemies, killed their competitors, killed witnesses, killed members of their own crew who tried to leave the organization for fear they would flip. Those are the kind of cases where we have anonymous juries. And now, a former president of the United States has joined that ignoble club. The club of defendants who are so dangerous and despicable that when they go to trial, the jurors need to remain anonymous. Okay, let's finish with this story, friends, and this one is also a doozy. Here is the reporting by Salon. Headline, very strong evidence. Bill Barr says Trump should be most concerned about documents case. Boy, when Donald Trump's protector general says he's in criminal trouble. That article begins, former Attorney General Bill Barr criticized the indictment of former President Donald Trump in Manhattan, but predicted that there is a good chance that his former boss will be indicted for refusing to turn over classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. Barr, in an interview with ABC News' John Carroll on Sunday, said, I'd be most concerned about the document case in Mar-a-Lago. Quote, he had no claim to those documents, especially the classified documents. They belonged to the government. And so I think he was jerking the government around. And they subpoenaed it, and they tried to jawbone him into delivering documents, Barr explained. But the government is investigating the extent to which games were played, and there was obstruction in keeping documents from them. And I think that's a serious potential case. I think they probably have some very good evidence there. So when your corrupt former attorney general, your protector general, says you're sunk, you're probably sunk. And nobody deserves to be sunk more than Donald Trump. Because justice matters. But friends, the road to accountability is awfully long. But we continue to walk it together. We'll get there. Please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again soon.